Hey guys, Sid from Sid's Trains here, and today, the big boy is back. So this engine right here is my Lionel TMCC Big Boy number 4006. And this engine was produced in 1999 by Lionel alongside another big articulated steam engine, that being the Chesapeake and Ohio Allegheny. While these models, by today's standards, aren't very detailed and accurate, this model still means the world to me. If you've been in the model train community for a long time, or just into trains for just even a short period of time, you've heard the name Big Boy. The Big Boy is like the standard of American railroading, or the symbol of it in a way. There's lots of trains and engines that mean more or did more than just the Big Boy. However, the Big Boy did one thing that the others didn't. And that's had a name and a look that just symbolized America. America is about freedom and tons of other things, but we're also known for things being big and powerful. Great exemplars are muscle cars and sports cars being fast and powerful, and our trains being big and powerful. The Big Boy was one of the biggest engines ever, and it was also very powerful. There were some that were smaller than it and more powerful, but the Big Boy altogether, with its looks and that name, just catch on to people and the social media side of humans. We love the name, and that's why it stuck. Someone wrote on the front of one of the Big Boys, Big Boy, and the name stuck. They were going to be named something else. However, the name stuck because that one person wrote Big Boy on the front of it. Now, like I said before, this is not the best Big Boy in the Yo scale market. It's actually quite primitive and kind of lackluster in many ways. However, it means the world to me because as a young kid, I would watch videos and I just wanted a Big Boy. I saw the JLC Big Boy come out as a really young kid, and I also saw this engine because it had already existed before I was even born. And just to have one would mean the world to me. And when I was in 8th grade, I was having some issues in school. I remember I broke my collarbone for the second time, and I was just having a rough time. So my parents and I decided, why don't I get something I've wanted for a very long time? A Big Boy. And I did. And the moment I got it, I was astonished. This thing is huge. For someone who had not had anything larger than a Hudson, this is just crazy. This engine is so long. The sounds make it sound so powerful. And all of that together made a big impact on me and my desires in this hobby. If it wasn't for this engine, I probably wouldn't be where I am now. This engine made me like big articulated steam engines and like more steam engines in general. This engine for the time and my collection at the time had a lot of detailing, had sounds I had never experienced before, and it had a fan-driven smoke unit. That was something I hadn't experienced in my own collection up until when I got this engine. I had tons of experience with fan-driven smoke units from my neighbor's MTH locomotives, but I didn't have an engine with a fan-driven smoke unit. And when I got it, I was just so happy. I couldn't stop running it. Heck, this was one of the first engines I ever opened up, which was really ambitious for the time. Nowadays, I do work on even more crazy engines, so this doesn't really mean much, but it really left an impact on me. And because of that, I wanted to make it a nicer engine. From the factory, it did not have cruise control, so the moment you moved it, it would go to a speed, but then it would adjust with voltage drops and grades and everything like that. The fan-driven smoke unit was also constant, so it would just keep coming out and not puff with the chuff of the engine. Another thing is the lighting. Over the years, the headlight burned out, these marker lights up here burned out, and the cab light had already burned out a couple times. So I was kind of tired of it just being a kind of meh engine. So I decided, you know what? Take the time and make it a nicer engine. It's never going to be the best big boy there is. These marker lights up here, like my friends say, makes it look like a crab or some kind of animal. It does not look like a real big boy on the front, but it symbolizes a big boy, and that's what it meant to me. It symbolized a big boy, and that's what I wanted. Of course, nowadays I can get something much better than it, but for what it is, it's an amazing model. And in this video, I'm going to discuss a few of the things I've done to it. So let's go take a look at what I've done to this engine to just enhance it and make it a better model for me at least. So starting out, it did not have cruise control. So I decided I'm going to add cruise control. I installed a Cruise Commander M from Electric Railroad in this engine, and now it has cruise control. It has 100 speed steps. That's a lot of speed steps, half of what a legacy engine has. And even with that, it is still a super smooth running engine now. And it will crawl all the way around my layout, up the grades, down the grades, no speed, no changes in the speed. It's just awesome that I can now run this thing and not have it going super fast all the time. I really enjoy that. The next thing I did was I installed LEDs in the engine. The cab light, the firebox glow, the headlight, and the marker lights all got LEDs installed in them. That's because, like I said, they were burning out all the time with the old bulbs, and I decided, why don't I just install LEDs, and then that will get rid of all the issues I was having. Also, the cab light turns off when the engine starts moving, and the headlight gets brighter and then dims when the engine stops. So when it moves, it gets bright, and when it stops, it gets dim. That's called Rule 17 lighting. Legacy engines have it, and some newer PS3 MCH engines have that as well. Very cool feature, and all of that comes from the Super Chuffer. I installed a Super Chuffer in this engine. That's a board I've talked about on this channel, and people have asked me to install for them on their engines as well. And what that does is gives you the LED lighting effects, and then the ability to have constant smoke coming out when it's at idle. But when the engine moves and starts chuffing, it then puffs with the chuff. And that's a feature that newer engines have, but at the time this engine did not have. So installing that just made this a nicer engine for me, and I really like the way it looks with the puffing smoke as it's moving along. The final update I made to this engine was originally it only had 2 chuffs per revolution. So it would chuff at 12 and 6. As if the wheels were a clock. So they would chuff at the top and the bottom of the drivers. And while that sounds nice, it's not completely prototypical, and I wanted it to have the accurate 4 chuffs, where it would chuff at 12, 3, 6, and 9. And to do that, I would normally use a chuff generator, which is a product that can be used with the Super Chuffer and on the flywheel. However, I've been working with my friend to 3D print chuff cams, is what they are called. They go on the axle, and that's how Lionel gives you the chuff. There are these little lobes that go on the axle, and when the lobe comes to the top, it hits a little switch and completes a circuit. And when that circuit is complete, it chuffs. Lionel had been using that technique all the way up until around 2010, when they refined their technology and started using optical sensors to generate the chuff, which is similar to what the chuff generator does. However, Lionel had it part of their software. The chuff generator is an external part to the whole TMCC design and software of this engine. So I didn't really want to use that because it's not always accurate. So the chuff cam that I installed was 3D printed. I sanded it down a little and attached it to that axle, and because it stays in the same spot the entire time, it will always chuff at the same time at 12, 3, 6, and 9, like a clock. And I really like that. And when the engine's going slow, it sounds awesome. And then when the engine's speeding up, it really sounds like it's going fast, like a real train would. But like real trains are, they're not always going super fast. Lots of the time when it sounds like they're going fast, they're not really moving all that quickly, because when trains get up to a certain speed, the chuffing kind of drones out, and then there's just this constant hiss of kind of steam, valve gear noise, and other things like that. And all of these upgrades combined just make this such a better engine to me. It's a lot more fun to run. And of course, it can now run up and down these grades without any issues of speeding up and slowing down. So altogether, I'm very happy with this engine. I was happy with it in the past, but with my growing collection, my layout changing, and me just liking more refined engines, I decided why not use my skills and make this engine a nicer piece. So altogether, very happy with this engine now. And for the rest of the video, we're just going to be running it around the layout with all my PFE reefers. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications, comment below, and tell others about the channel. I'm Sid, and I'll see you next time, guys.